New poll out on organized religion and how much we're buying it and not buying it. And it turns out American people, all of a sudden, not buying it. One, it's not all of a sudden. Two, that it's not all the American people, obviously. But let me show you a graph here. Back in 1973, 66% of Americans had quite a lot of confidence in the church and organized religion. In fact, it was the best rated institution of anything, whether media, politicians, business, etc. As you can see, it peaked there at 68% a little bit later. Now it's all the way down to 44%. That's a huge drop off from 68 to 44. And so a couple of things, as you see there in 02, 03, there's a giant dip. That's because of the Catholic Church scandal that happened right around then. And then also in the 1980s, Terry Baker, Jerry Falwell, you name it, all the Jerry Swaggart, and oh my God, I have sinned, if you remember all that stuff. And plus, I think there's also the factor that people are figuring, nah, not buying it. Okay, because there was an overall dipping trend to begin with. And as you see in Europe, there's a huge trend, and it might finally be making it to the U.S. Yes or no, John Iadarola?
Probably no. I mean, I'm glad to see those numbers, but there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret those. Those numbers could be going down because overall people are becoming somewhat less religious, or people on average could be just as religious, but the ranks of the people who are not religious at all are growing. That can throw the numbers off as well. And honestly, I'm glad to see that number going down, but so long as the percentage of Americans who believe in the literal existence of angels is between 40 and 50%, I don't know how much confidence I should get from that number dropping a few percentage points every 5 years.
Well, no, but look, if it dropped from like 51 to 47, I'd say, oh, come on. We got to do a little better than that. And that might not even be a trend. It might pick back up. 68 to 44 is a pretty significant trend. Now, it doesn't mean they don't believe in religion or literally angels or anything like that, but they're saying, hey, you know what? These guys that are leading the churches might be a little full of crap. And the fact that it's still 44% who say, no, absolutely not, they're awesome, is a little depressing. But as Bush would say, we're making progress.
When religion became very politicized in Europe, that actually led to a much more rapid decline in it. And I wonder, with religion getting so much more involved in politics, it makes it a more divisive issue, as opposed to something that people can universally get behind. And I mean, we see with the nuns and how much hate they're getting for wanting to take care of poor people. I mean, they're out there pushing positive messages, and you have the organization or the institution of religion trying to smack them back. I think that actively undermines people's, faith in the institution itself.
I totally agree with what you guys are saying, but I'm going to pile on, and I think there's even more phenomenon, right? So I think that there was less information back then. Obviously, the internet didn't exist, et cetera. And there was this general belief that, hey, authority figures were right. Oh my God, you look up to the president, you look up to the CEO, you look up to Walter Cronkite and the media, and of course those numbers are plummeting when it comes to the media and so many of those other institutions. And then you looked up to they used to believe, this is a man of the cloth. This is a figure that is, now we have information. We know it's Bob down the street. And Bob sometimes a pedophile and sometimes he's not. And sometimes Bob covers up for a pedophile. And it turns out that they're regular human beings who, of course, they don't know any better than anyone else. Yeah. And so, I'm with John in that 44% is still way, way too high, given all those obvious facts. But it takes a while to whittle it down, as it happened in Europe. Them being so political. By the way, one thing I should add to that is that the church has always been political, right? I mean, back in the day, it was even more political. It was just another way of ruling people, right? When the popes had so much power, it was massively political, far more political than it is today. It's just that people didn't perceive it that way.
I think it probably should be clarified, at least where the battle lines are being drawn from. And the reason it's good that some of these things are happening. If there's corrupt guys that are taking people for money, yeah, fine, good and stuff. But is it because, I keep hearing losing battle, or at least terms like that, or we're working on it. Working on what? What's the end game?
One, I hope that they don't believe in organized religion, but that's a more long-run goal. A short-run goal is, of course, what you said. That they're not as trustworthy of people that shouldn't be trusted.
To go to Jayar's point about what the goal here is, for me personally, I don't see religion being stamped out in some way. I don't even know that that would necessarily be a good thing. I think that there's a large swath of the American population and humanity at large that needs it for various reasons. But I want people to approach political issues from a political point of view, requiring evidence for the stances that they take. I don't want them to think about climate change and say, well, what does God say about this? God doesn't say anything about climate change that I truly care about. I want them to look at what the scientists say about it. And for stem cell research and for other issues like that, I want them to approach it from a rational point of view. And if they want to continue following religion in their private lives, I think that that's perfectly fine. But those
And
are
if
different
God
things.
is saying anything about climate change, I guess he's saying that he believes in it because he made the planet
causing it.
warmer. Yeah, right? I mean,
Set
if
the
there's any
conditions.
evidence at all of what God wants, well, the planet is warmer, and he's at least not stopping it.